So today's topic is we have learned how to write a class and this main method is required. You can see that main method is a start of program execution. So the next thing is data types. What do you mean by data types? In the word itself, data means information. Type means various type of information. So to the machine, we can give various types of information. How it is possible? Through keyboard. Means whatever the keys present inside the keyboard, those we can pass as an information. Inside the keyboard, you can see numbers will be there, characters will be there, special symbols will be there. Machine will understand the plus, minus, into, parentheses, special symbols, it will understand directly. Machine can't differentiate between the numbers and the characters. For that, this data type introduced. So data means information and type means various. So we need to classify that information. So classification of information is nothing but data types. So we are telling to the machine, this is a number, this is a character. How we are doing? We are using some keywords which are developed by the Java developer, the software developer. So in this, we have two things. Numbers will be there and characters will be there. Numbers are again classified into two types. Like if you say 345 and 5.6, those are two different things, right? So one is integer, one is decimal. So numbers are again classified into integers and decimals. To represent that information, we are using keywords like, for integer, you can use keyword byte, short, int, long. These are the keywords. These all keywords represent the same thing. Without point values, you can store the information. Then why these many keywords are being introduced? The main reason is the memory. For a programmer, memory is very precious. If you see, a game is developed with 9 GB memory, and the same game someone has developed with 2 GB memory. Everyone will prefer the 2 GB memory game because if it is less, it's better. So here also, byte occupies 1 byte of information, means we can store only a certain amount of values. Okay, and short is nothing but 2 bytes. This is 4 and this is 8. Means the only difference between the keywords is the memory. If you want to store 0 to 127, we use byte. 0 to some 32,767, then we use short, or -3 to 768 to 3 to 767. That's the range. Okay. So the same way, if you want to increase the number of values, we use int long. Here, for the decimals, we use keywords like float and double. Float in the sense it's 4 bytes, and double in the sense it's 8 bytes. So this much of information we are having. Okay. And for characters, we use a keyword known as char. But here the character can store only single character. which is denoted by single quotes. Remember that whenever you are giving a character value, the value should be in single quotes if it's a single character. And we can use string. You can observe clearly S is capital. That is a class. So whenever the starting letter is capital, it's a class. Okay. So string is a class which can store multiple characters. We can use double quotes. Okay. That is a difference. Apart from this, we also have Boolean. What is Boolean? Which can store either true or false. It stores either true or false. Boolean is the information. So this is data types, classification of information. And we have different types. So mostly we use int and long because high range of values will be required. If it is less, then we can use byte or short also. Okay, any doubts in this thing? The data types, you can ask.
So character, how much byte is stored in memory?
It will occupy 2 bytes.
Sorry, 2 bytes.
Yeah.
Okay. And string?
Based on number of characters. It's our class, right? We create an object.
Okay. Okay.
This is
Thank
data
you.
types, and this is a class. Any other doubts, anyone? Yeah. So we'll continue with the next thing. This is like here, if I see, I can use int a equals to 10. I want to display that value. So what I can do, I can directly here I have displayed a message. Okay, then system dot out dot println. I can use a. If I run this thing, welcome to JNIT and 10. What is 10? The value what we want to print. Now, if I want to print a message and print, the a value is, here if I give a comma, it's giving error. We can't give a comma, we can give a plus. Why plus? In the sense, to the double quotes, the value is getting added using this plus. Plus is like concatenation, adding the string and the value. So if you run this thing, the a value is 10. Next, suppose I have b equals to 20. I want to display b value also in the same line of thing. So if I use again plus, then only I can use double quotes. Simple equation, whenever you have double quotes, use plus, so that the variable and the double quotes cannot touch. They can be added only using the plus. Okay, suppose if I remove this plus now, it will give error, syntax error. Why? Because the variable cannot touch the double quotes directly. You should have a plus. And b equals to plus b. Run it. The a value is 10 and b equals to 20. In this, it will display. So remember, whenever double quotes is there, you need to have a plus symbol. Without that, we can't do anything. It will give error also. Suppose I want to add two values. Let's say I'll just write A plus B. What's happening? I'm getting 30. But the same thing, if I do with the double quotes, sum equals to plus. Sorry. Now the output will change because to the double quotes, if I do plus, it's like 10. And again plus, it's like 20. So it will be sum equals to 10, 20. Why it's happening? Because we have used double quotes. Now it's considered as a concatenation, not addition. So in order to differentiate that, use parenthesis. Then what will happen? You'll get sum equals to 30. Okay. So this is adding of two values. You can add integer, string. You can try different things. Float, point values. Float means point values. Char means single character. Next. Is it clear how we are taking the values and how we are calculating and all?
Yes.
Right. So next thing will be how the variables should be written, or what is this static? Because if we take the types of variables, different types of variables will be there. And one thing you need to understand, we have learned how to write a class. This is the way of writing a class. You can declare a variable. That's fine. Next thing, how to create object. This is also important. Let's say I'm creating an object for a class. I have a person class. I want to create an object. I'll remove this thing. So syntax will be every time the class name must be taken, in the object name will be there. And we use a keyword here. In Java, if you use a new keyword, it means the memory is allocated. You know that class memory is not available. If you want to allocate the memory, we need to create an object like class new class name parameters. This is the way of creating an object. Example, person Rahul equals to new person. What it does, it allocates some memory byte, and that memory can store the value. For example, if I have int age equals to some 54, and what I am trying to do, I want to print it. Let's say system.out.println. I want to print age equals to plus age. I'm getting an error here. Age cannot be resolved to a variable because that age is inside the person, and for the age there is no memory. Okay, so if the memory is not there, you cannot access it. How to create the memory? Person Rahul equals to new person. Now still you can see that age cannot be resolved to a variable because memory is allocated in Rahul, means inside that RAM a memory got allocated with the name Rahul. So this is the memory. So if age is needed to be accessed, which contains this 54 value, using Rahul only you need to access. Let's say Rahul dot age. Now you can see there is no error. And if I run also, age equals to 54. Okay. So this is what to allocate the memory, this instruction. Allocate memory. Why? Class doesn't occupy any memory. Or class variables and methods doesn't occupy any memory. Next, this step allocates the memory, then you can access that variable. Not only age, if I declare a height also, like say float height equals to some 5.6, I'm getting an error. Why the error is coming? Yeah, Priya, you have texted, you have any doubt? Any doubts?
Actually, yeah, I have to go somewhere. I have appointment by 10:15, so I have to go. So
Yeah.
I will see the video, okay?
Okay.
And yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you.
So here, when you are giving the value to a float, you are getting an error because float value there should be a suffix known as f. Double automatically will have like say weight 78.5. There is no issue with the double. Only for float, if I don't give the suffix as f, it gives error. That is the main thing. So how to print these things directly? System dot out dot println height you can take plus height. But again we are getting error. Why? Because height has memory inside that Rahul. So then Rahul dot height in the sense you can access. Without Rahul, we cannot access anything. So is this clear? Any doubts? Try to respond.
No, no doubts, Rahul. Rohit, I'm sorry.
It's clear.
No,
Yeah. So the next thing, try to be active, involve in the discussion. I want you to make it interactive. Okay. So next, types of variables. This is just how we allocate the memory. New keyword is used to allocate the memory. But suppose if I say person Shiva, what happens? If I'm not using new keyword, memory will not get allocated. We want to try it out. I'll just say person Shiva. And then just trying to say Shiva dot height. So what it says, the local variable Shiva may not have been initialized. Means we didn't give any memory. So this is a valid instruction. You can see if I give Rahul, I'm not getting any error here when I say person Shiva. Because the memory is not allocated, but you can directly use this. Okay. Next. So types of variables. So what you have understood till now is that a class doesn't have memory. We create object, then the memory is getting allocated. And the types of variables, we have two types of variables. One is primitive variables. Second is object variables. Primitive variables in the sense, if I use int, float, double to declare, or if I say int age is a primitive variable. Object variable in the sense, if I say person, this person is an Rahul, right? So Rahul is an object variable. Okay. And the primitive variables are again classified into three types. One is instance variable. Second is static variable. Third is local variable. So before going to the primitive variables, you need to understand what is object, what is static. Here, object in the sense we use new keyword to allocate the memory. But suppose sometimes I don't want to use the new keyword to allocate memory. Without that, if you want to have some memory, then we use static. So static is a keyword which makes sure that it is not depending on the object, on the new keyword, or it will not wait for the object to be created, because already the memory will be allocated. When we use static keyword, it means you can access it directly. How to access? By using class name. Okay. So what is static? It is a keyword. What it does, it doesn't depend on object. Means if we declare anything as static, we can access that using class name. Okay. And this is the main important thing. Whenever we have object, the same thing we can do it with static also. What is the scenario that we learn here inside the instance and the static? And here the instance is nothing but object itself. Instance or memory or object, these three things are interrelated. Okay. Instance means memory, which is allocated using new keyword. Static means already defined memory, means a memory will be defined. You can access that memory by using the class name. Okay. Like I said, we have JVM, right? What does JVM do? If you want to allocate some memory, the JVM will do it. Like the new keyword is there, right? Who executes the new keyword? JVM. Means when JVM executes the new keyword, it allocates the memory for the class. So JVM is like a manager to our program. It will allocate the memory, it will reallocate the memory, it will make sure what is the next instruction to be executed. Everything is done by JVM. So JVM contains some memories here. What are the memories? Like heap, first thing will be method area. Second is heap area. Third is stack area. Next is PC, program counter. And the fifth thing is native area. These are the things you need to understand. Okay. So whenever I use static, memory is already defined, that memory will occupy. And the static can be given to the following. We can write a class. For a variable, we can give it as static. For a method, we can give it as static. For a class, we can give it as a static. For even object, we can give it as static. We do even have the block also. Okay. So for everything, static can be given. Variable, method, class, object, and even for a block. And why we need a static? It's a simple thing. Object means we need to create the memory. If a programmer doesn't create the memory, he cannot access anything. But without object, if you want to access anything, then we can use static. Because when we declare anything as static, already in JVM, a memory is there, method area. In that, everything will be occupied. Means static occupies inside the method area. That is the main important thing. Now, if you have any doubts regarding static, you can ask.
No doubt.
No, no.
Yeah. So different types of memories in that one is object, one is static. And here new keyword is being used, right? Actually, there are other ways also. We'll see in the further sessions how to create a memory. So basic thing, different ways of memory creation, different ways of accessing the memory, and different ways of variables. What are those? Instance variable, static variable. So let's see what is instance variable. If I write a class student, and in this, if I'm declaring a age variable, and if I'm declaring a height variable, so these are known as instance variables. The variables which are declared inside the class and outside the method, those variables known as instance variables. And here, what we know, class doesn't have memory. If you want to access this variables age and height, we need to allocate memory. So instance variables depends on the object. If I create an object, let's say here I'm creating a memory, then a memory block will be allocated and it occupies some memory. Let's say it's age and the other one is height. And this memory, whenever we create an object, for every object, these locations will be allocated. Like age and height, memory locations will be allocated. For n objects, n locations will be allocated. And where this memory is getting stored, in JVM, we have a method, heap, stack, right? Inside the method, every time the static things will get executed or stored, and inside the heap every time the object memory will be stored. Okay. So whenever I create an object, the memory location in which it's getting stored is heap area. Sometimes we give the value like 23, 22, some height like 5.4, 5.6. But if I don't give the values, what happens? If I don't give the values, JVM will come into picture and it will assign some default values. Let's say for integer it will assign 0, for string it will assign null, for float it will assign 0.0, for boolean it will assign false. Means if a programmer doesn't allocate any value, then the JVM will by default assign some values. So here you need to observe one thing. If we forgot something, the machine will do it itself. Not only this, in the future you will see a lot of things the machine itself does. Okay. So what are the points we have covered in the instance variable? So what is an instance variable? We can say the variable which is declared inside the class and outside the method. And here the instance variable depends on the object. Means what? If one object is created, one location is allocated. N objects, n locations. Next, heap area is used to store the instance variables. So in this heap area, we are doing it. And the fourth one, if we don't initialize in the sense if we don't give the value, then by default values will be given. What are those? For int it's 0, for string it's null, for boolean it's false. Okay. Any doubts in these things?
No.
No.
Right. Now, what is static? Why we require static if we already have the instance? Consider I am declaring a variable here, college. Now tell me, if a college has a branch CSC, in that branch for all the students, the college name will be same or different?
Same.
Yeah, same.
Right. So what I'll do is, and we know that whenever we create an object, a memory will be allocated for the college. Let's say this is CMR college we are talking about. And for all the objects, what happens? The college value will be same. Now, what is the problem here? What's happening?
They are taking some uh, bytes, I mean, some memory.
Memory is
Three,
getting wasted, right?
yeah.
So the same value, if we declare it as instance variable, what happens? Every time the object is created, it allocates the memory, it stores the value, same value. So static can be used when you want to save the memory. Because if I declare it as static, we know that static does not depend on object. So whenever object is created, the memory will not be allocated for college. And only one location will be there inside the method area. So whenever a static variable is declared, only one memory location will be there, and that memory location is common to all the objects. So what is the advantage? Memory is getting saved, right? So why
Yeah.
static was introduced is for this purpose. Whenever there is a unnecessary thing which is wasting the memory, we can use the static to save the memory. So with the include of static, we can save lot of memory. And if I don't give any values, as usual for static also, int 0, string null, boolean false. But how to access this college now? Using this class name. If I'm accessing age and height with the object, the college will be accessed using class name, because static depends on class name. Instance depends on object. That is the scenario. So understood when we have to use the static. So why we use static? To save the memory. That's it. Any doubts in this thing?
Clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's write a program for this. What I'll do, I'll create a new thing. I'll create a class with the name variable topic. Okay. I'll include the public static void main, because for any file to be executed, this public static void main must be there. So I'll write a class student. Int age is there, float height is there, and static string college is there. And what we understood, without creating object, we cannot access the age. Like if I say age equals to 21, it's giving error, because you cannot access the variable without memory. Allocate some memory for that student class. Let's say student Rahul equals to new student. What happens now? Now you can store Rahul equals to age. What is the age? 21. Rahul height. What's the height? Like 5.6 F. But this college, if you write Rahul, what happens for every object? You need to write that college and the memory is getting wasted. To save that, student.college. What is that? CMR. How to display the values? System.out.println. Just what I can say, age equals to Rahul.age. System.out.println. Height equals to Rahul.height. Whenever we store the value with the object, the same object can be used to access, like college. What happens now? Student.college. If I run this thing, we got the age, height, and college. So for one class, we have done like this. Suppose I have one more class, let's say employee. What does employee have? Employee ID, salary, in the company. Now tell me, which is the common thing for the employee, for all employees?
Company.
So is it instance or static?
Hmm.
Static.
Yes. So you need to think which is wasting the memory, that you can create a static. See, without static also we can access the program, we can write the program. There is no issue. But internally the memory will get wasted. As a programmer, you need to have one thing in mind, how to save the memory, how efficiently you can write the code. That is important. Next. Now, can I access this EID directly and store 1023? Again, it will give error. Why? We need memory. So in Java, if you want to do anything, first you need to create a memory for the class. Without that, you can't do anything. Like Shiva equals new employee. So what I can do, Shiva.eid. Here the spelling got missed. Shiva.salary. What is that? 50,000 you can say. Or some point value. Next, company is a static thing, means employee.company. For all the employees, what will be the company name? Infosys we can see. So what happens here? System.out.println EID equals to plus Shiva.eid. Am I going fast or you're able to understand?
Able to understand, but little bit fast, I feel.
So where is the fast? Like we created a class, we wrote the variables, we created an object, we access it, we displayed it. Anything anyone didn't understand, you can ask, I'll explain again. See, I've just given that how many classes you want, you can declare, you can give the variables, you can allocate the memory, you can store the value, you can display. That we have done it. Same process, no change in the process.
Can you please scroll it little bit up? So start. Oh yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
So student class, employee class, variables, you can write the program, then you'll understand clearly. So what your assignment will be, write down this program and execute. The same way, write two more programs. Take dentist, patient, college, school, any exam on your own, I want you to write. Okay, declare the variables, what you see, like Facebook. What fields you see in the registration, declare them. Create, give multiple variables, not only 3. I have just explained, that's the reason I have taken 3. You take 6, 7, 8 variables, increase the number of variables, use the different types, character you take, double you take, byte, short, use all the data types and write the program. So once you write it, you'll have a grip on it, then we can go to the next topic. Okay. But the only thing is, for this student, if you don't create object, you cannot access. And student S is capital. Mostly the mistakes will be done here. when you write these things, you miss something. Like if you make it as small, what happens if you give error? Obviously,
Error.
No.
so mostly students do these mistakes. If you follow the rules, if you write correctly, nothing, there won't be any errors.
Sure.
So make sure you write 3 programs, this one, 2 on your own.
Sure.
Everyone should be
Ye-
done with it by tomorrow's session.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Any doubts?
No.
Respond. I want response.
No, no.
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 Isolate from others, like try to be in a separate room, try to answer, don't keep mute and sit, because I can't say whether you're understanding or not. If you want me to repeat, I'll repeat again and again, but make sure ask the doubts if you have any. Okay,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
that's it for today. We'll meet tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.